We can do anything that we want as long as this doesn't tip over. Go get me the, what are these? 2.5s. Do I have any 3.5s in there? Do that?
Yep.
Just don't have a very good purchase on that cross brace, and I'm out of lift. I'm as high as I can go. Good? Okay.
Injured in the
Nobody
process.
died.
Only the board ate the dust.
Yeah, I told you. It's probably going to happen.
Yeah, but it got it up over that hump.
Look at that. Look at the length on that rope.
Wow.
I mean, that's like the guesstimate of the year right there.
Yeah, it is. Good job.
Thanks.
Wooey.
That's it.
And this thing weighs 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, give or take. This one, because it's the souped up kind of tool room version, could go up to as much as 1,200. But it's somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 pounds.
Whew, that was easy.
Whew. I don't know if it was
That's
easy
what
on my,
happens when you set it up.
I don't know if it was easy on my nerves, but it was easy on the, I mean, that went painfully easy. No cherry picker, no five guys.
38 bucks and some rope.
38 bucks and some rope we had on hand and some old sailboat hardware.
Yeah.
And poof, Bob's your uncle.
All right, that's it.
A lot happened between those teardown shots and what you see here.
For the next few weeks, Shawn spent just about every spare minute out here in the shop bringing this old machine back to life. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of talk about where we've been and why you haven't seen us very much on Olivia lately. I guess it's probably been about a month and a half now, maybe a little more than that, since Dave was here. And we've had to get the lathe, which we're going to talk to Shawn about that. The lathe, the mill, and a drill press, right?
No,
No.
just the lathe and mill.
Lathe and mill. Anyway, so I kind of wanted to ask him a few questions about why he bought the particular lathe we have and what that's going to do for Olivia, and also next steps. And we're going to be out of town. Starting next week, we're going to Canada for 2.5 weeks, and then we'll be back and we'll both be on Olivia. Of course, during that time, I've had my retirement, and that was last Tuesday. So I want to ask Shawn, why did you buy that particular lathe?
Any of you that have been following along know that I had a small, it's like a little V-Vor 7x14 benchtop lathe. And the purpose of buying that was because we knew we had a lot of plastic parts that had to be made, like the rollers for the bow roller, and lots of little grommets and washers and things like that that we needed for metal isolation, because you know that stainless steel and aluminum are not fans of one another, and you end up with something called galvanic corrosion, where the two metals interact in a saltwater environment. It eats up the aluminum. So we had a lot of that damage, as you guys saw on the booms. So we knew that we were going to need to do a lot of plastic work, and still need to do a fair amount. So I got that lathe and thinking that was all we were going to need. And then Gina comes up with these bright ideas to decorate this way and that way, and it's great, but we run into the interface between her imagination and available parts, and I'm notoriously cheap, meaning that I don't spend a dime more than I need to get an appropriate appearance and an appropriate quality for the application. I don't believe in throwing the kitchen sink at every project and just dousing it in money and hoping for the best, because we all know that money, or the value or cost, I guess you should say, the cost of things doesn't always dictate quality. We've all learned that the hard way. Spending way too much money on something and then find out that it's just junk. So I do a lot of work to research pieces and parts, and we ran into a whole slew of things that she wanted that were brass that we couldn't find a cost-effective solution for. I mean, when I say not cost-effective, I mean, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of fittings to do what should be, you know, $150 worth of material work. So I started researching around and realized I was going to have to buy a grown-up lathe. So I was trained on a South Bend lathe, so I was familiar with that platform and the controls. I wanted something that I was somewhat familiar with, and I knew that South Bend lathes were just high quality, old school American iron. For example, the thing that's sitting right here, this is the mill, and it's an Inco ZX40. That is from like 1986. So
And this did not look like this.
it needed to be torn apart because it had been used building aircraft parts for the better part of 40 years. In the course of stripping it down, we realized that it was pretty packed in metal. And so it,
Like fossilized.
it clearly hadn't been cleaned in quite a long time. So we started tearing it down here and realized that it was just, it had metal inside of the gearbox. A couple of the bearing covers in the bottom had let go and they were getting chewed up by the gears. And there was just a lot of stuff, nothing catastrophic. All the gears were in good shape, the shafts are in good shape. I mean, this is the spindle, the part that turns the tool, and the whole top of that had metal down inside of it because they took the cover. There's a shaft right there. It's supposed to have a cover on it, and they had taken the cover off because there's something on there that you need to operate to put the tools in and out, and it just became a shop expedient. They just threw the cover to the side and never put it back on. The problem is that the spindle has open bearings in it, so it was full of metal. and the bearings were chewing that metal up, and it was just bad. We stripped it down, did a rattle can spray paint on it, which is more than good enough for what we need. Just the work, we've completely overhauled the machine, and then I'll tram it, which is leveling the table and all that stuff, and then it'll get rolled to the side and it'll sit there until we're ready to use it.
Why rebuild something that old and versus buying a new one?
So that lathe, I paid $1,300 for that lathe. To buy a lathe of that size and that quality, that capability, I would have spent $15,000 to $20,000 to buy it. And that's a tool room lathe, which makes it more precise than a standard, just a factory lathe. Mm-hmm. So that is a 1942 South Bend 10L, which is referred to, the nickname is the Heavy 10, because they make a light 10, a 10K. But that's a 10L, Heavy 10 lathe. It's a war production lathe. And it's what's called an 8187A, which is a tool room lathe, which means that the spindle, the bearings, the ways, everything was ground to a higher quality or a higher standard. So it was a great deal more precise than a regular just production lathe that was turning out bolts where the tolerances weren't that critical. That lathe represents 84 years of South Bend history, and it represents the pinnacle of American quality. It was just an overbuilt machine that was designed to be overhauled over and over and over again with really little or no new parts. The machines were just built like tanks, and they were designed to be roughed up, beat up, high production rates, then rolled off to a tool room somewhere, stripped down, the metal scraped out of them, wiped the bearings off, put new oil in it, put the damn thing back together, and roll it back out on the floor, and it was ready to work again. And again, we talked about, if something happened to me tomorrow, you could put that thing online and sell it for 8 times what we paid for it. It looks pretty sexy right now. I mean, it's back pretty in its original wartime color. It actually was a war machine. So it was a machine that was built during the war era under government contract and was sent out accordingly. I probably have, in all honesty, I probably have $400 in that lathe. The bearings were all in great shape. They had all their original cast iron bearings in the headstock and the spindle. Everything is still tight. Really cleaned it, polished it, painted it.
That was probably the longest part of it, was the stripping it down.
Oh, cleaning,
part
yeah.
Of it and cleaning.
I worked on that machine for exactly 4 weeks to the day. And 75% of that was cleaning and power washing and degreasing. And power washing again and degrease. Yeah, so it took a lot of cleaning, and then I had to use OSFO, which is a chemical agent that actually converts iron has an oxide coating on it so it won't rust. Because as Gina found out yesterday, she's like, Jesus, this stuff rusts instantly. She goes, I just cleaned it and it's already rusting. I'm like, yeah, it's cast iron.
It was fuzzy too. I
mean,
it had really, in one day's time, this iron piece was fuzzy.
Yeah.
It looked like it had gotten mildew on it.
Yeah, it still has some things. I got, like I said, about 3 more days worth of work on it. I have to put the DRO on. So once we get back from out of the country, I'll spend a few more days tweaking these machines and getting them ready to run. These things are not going to be used instantaneously.
That was going to be my next question: is what is the plans? I mean, we bought the mill too, so what do we plan to do?
So a lathe, for those that don't know, a lathe makes round parts, right? Shafts, bearings. This is the type of thing that lathe can make. It can thread internally, it can thread externally, it can turn circular things, but it can't cut these flats. The flats are cut on a mill. You use a fly cutter to cut that surface, and then you index it over that and then cut that surface. So that nut's a pretty good example of the 2 things that these machines do. We have a lot of parts on Olivia that need to be rebuilt, replaced, repaired, or that are missing. And that boat's over 40 years old. Some of this stuff was proprietary parts that you can't buy because they were only built for the boat. And there's a lot of upgrades and improvements, brackets, plates, things like that. We have a hydraulic press over there, with a press brake so I can bend brackets.
And make pretty fiddle edges out of brass.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to make a bushing for the rudder stock. The lower bushing is worn out. There's some play down there, and the rudder is actually settled down in the rudder stock because the top of that bushing is gone. So that you can't buy those. They don't make them. Nobody makes them. The people that have replaced them have had to either make them themselves or have gone to a machine shop and had them made or whatever. So that's an example. Between those pieces of equipment, the mill, the lathe, and the hydraulic press, we should be able to do just about any metal work that we have left on the boat. And again, as we've gone along, we've discovered that there's an increasing amount. There's several things that I've had to find workarounds for that
Yes.
if I'd had this
Such as
equipment.
the exit, I think it was called the exit blocks.
Yeah.
They were several thousand for just those, 3 or 4. And the new small lathe.
Yeah,
But
I
it
mean, I
was
was able to
just
turn the
chirping.
brass rollers on it, but it was, those things were only, I mean, I
I was
think
like,
I
is that how it's supposed to sound?
got one floating around here
It's
somewhere.
back there. I saw it.
Oh, yeah. So basically we used stock like this, which you can see is not very big. I mean, that's my thumb. And then I had to turn rollers like this. And the only reason I have one of these right now is because the grandkids lost the damn thing. And I ended up finding, where did we find it? In the shop vac or something?
Yes,
I think
it
it
was in
sucked
the
it.
shop
This is a
vac.
brand new part. I left it sitting on the bench. One of the grandkids said, "Oh, can I see that?" I'm like, "Yeah, make sure you put it back." And he put it back all right. They put it into the shop vac. That roughness is from chatter. It's from that machine being sloppy as hell. But that machine wasn't designed to cut much in the way of metal. It was a pretty lightweight machine. But again, you see, I mean, that comes out of that. And a project like that would take 5 minutes on that lathe, and I ended up spending close to an hour on each one of these, slowly nibbling away
With
at
it
the material.
smoking and
Yeah, smoking and raising hell and chattering
yeah.
and squealing and everything else. So just things like that. I mean, I ended up, I don't know, let's just say $50. Say I put $50 into all 4 of those combined for stock and welding rod and all that. That saved us $1,200. So that's why if you really plan to refit a boat and you really plan to actually do quality work, investment in tools is an investment well spent.
I made a joke that so when we leave, which we are hoping by spring next year is our goal, because I'll be full time once we come back. So we're getting ready to head to Canada to go visit the national parks there for 16 days. I was going to say 2 weeks, but it's really 16 days. And then we'll both be back. All the equipment will be ready, and then we can jump back together on Olivia. But I made a joke going because we're going to sell the house, so we're also prepping the house and selling everything that's in the house. And I made a joke to him about, well, the lathe will bring us a good fair amount of money when we go to sell it. And he was like, whoa, you're burying me in that.
Yeah.
Burying me with that lathe.
That lathe and I are going to, like the old guy that got buried in his Cadillac or the guy that got buried with his chopper, that's going in the casket with me.
He did a really outstanding job on it. I really did not help a whole lot on that because I was still working. Now this one I did help do a lot of the scraping and getting out the crud and
Yeah.
pressure
Knocking
washing
the
it a bit
dust
more.
off the lens in
Yeah,
the
I broke the sandblaster.
For those of you who haven't seen her post about that,
I don't know if you can see it on there, but I'll show
Yeah.
a picture of it.
but yeah, it's she put her head through the damn plate glass on there yesterday. That was
Yeah, luckily, it had a protective plastic cover on it that he puts on there so that the sandblasting
and I just
doesn't
replaced that
scratch
effing glass 2 weeks ago.
So now he's got to get new glass. I guess that was about all the questions I wanted to ask you about that. And, you know, we have been not on Olivia because we've been trying to get the equipment ready.
Well, you have
that we
sidebar
need.
project. I mean, we look back on when we bought the boat and we said, oh, it'd be, 10 months to a year, refit, upfit, because we thought we were dealing with a lot of cosmetic shit. And as you guys have found out, the cosmetic stuff was the the barely intact remnants of the real bad structural shit. Sometimes you gotta go backwards to go forward.
We're just about done with the V berth area. Actually, he's into the Pullman berth. When we get back, we should finish that up. But we're getting ready to get into the bigger parts of it, which is in the
the
salon.
big mechanical stuff.
Yeah, so he was just like...
The whole middle of that boat is the heart of all the mechanical systems. The engine, the drivetrain, the generator, the batteries, the entire electrical system terminates there. The water system terminates there. The drainage system, the intake system, all of that terminates in that space, and that whole space has to be gutted because of so much water damage in the walls, and we got to pull shit out. Even stuff that looks okay on the outside, we have to pull it out because there's crap behind it that probably isn't okay. Plus, we now know every nut and bolt in that boat, where it's at and how it works. So when something breaks, we know right where to go and right what to fix and exactly what we're going to need. So, it's a double-edged sword. We're eating it up front, but we did retire early. So we're eating some of the time on the front end to enjoy more of the time on the back end. You either invest the time now when you have convenience, or you invest 3 times as much time when you don't have convenience. So eat it now, enjoy it later.
So anyway, to save time here a little bit, we're going to get off here, but we will be ready to get back on Olivia together. I'm retired. He's retired. Our full-time job is Olivia. And if we're ever going to get her out of here, he can't be doing this alone.
Yeah, she's been getting a trial by fire. This has been her break-in. We've
been
already
tired.
spoiled a years-long, accident-free workplace in 3 days. It's going to be interesting.
I
but
do the work.
She's not wired for this.
No.
She's spent
Been sitting
30
in
plus
an
years
office.
sitting in an office in the air conditioning. She's last couple of days, let's just say she hadn't had any problem falling asleep at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. She's like, I'm just so tired. I'm like, yeah, welcome to my world. 35 years of this shit. I'm beat up and worn out and broken.
I love the work. And
Yeah.
I love working with him, but going all day long, which I'm not used to, in stand-in and all the different stuff, I do love it, but it is very tiring.
Anyway, so we go to Canada, we come back. She will undoubtedly be running to the boat in that period of time and getting started with her projects again, cleaning,
off the
getting
slats.
stuff pulled out, and then they need to be brought back here, finished, sanded, edged, and then sealed, and then reinstalled. So she needs to go and take all those off and index them, or number them. So they go right back where they came from, because a lot of that stuff gets finished off the boat and then installed finished, like the slats are a prime example that you could finish them in place. The problem is that you don't get them sealed all the way around, and with a part like that, if you don't seal it all the way around and the ends, you're going to pay for it at some point, because the finish is going to start releasing from the surface,
Humidity.
because it's constantly taking in moisture. Sometimes you go backwards to go forwards. You put things in, you think you like it, you live with it for a while, and you're like, yeah, it's not really exactly what I was going for.
Same with the sealing, the insulation and sealing. We now have a new system for that.
Yeah, didn't stick. It's not staying. We pull the panels down, and the effing insulation falls out.
Yeah.
So now we're going back and we're going to epoxy in steel pin clips, the same thing that they use for sound insulation in an engine compartment that gets hot and they can't glue the shit in. Well, it's the same thing. Those pins are going to go through the foam insulation. They'll get a steel clip, get cut off. That will stay forever. We won't have to worry about it anymore. So that system has to be installed. So again, going backwards a little bit to go forwards. We don't have to replace the insulation. We just have to change how we installed it. So there's a lot of projects like that I don't need to be wasting my time on, that she's more than qualified to do. I'll go with her. We set up a process. She sees what I expect, what is going to work, and then I turn her loose, and I don't have to think about it anymore. This is the beauty of having a great partner, is that I can spin her up. She doesn't know the processes. I can take her in, and in 10 minutes, I can show her the process. We do 1 or 2 together, and she's like, got it. As soon as she says got it, she ain't bullshitting. She's got it. So I just turn her loose and forget about it, and I put my thought into something else, or the next project. So there's going to be a lot of movement on the boat in a very short period of time. You're going to see a lot of things all of a sudden get completed that look like they haven't even been started, because we're like that close on a lot of shit, and this stuff dovetails together. So that's the goal's going to be in the very short term, to finally wrap up the final stuff in both ends of the boat, so that I can move to the middle and start ripping and tearing in there. She can keep working in the ends of the boat, put the finishing touches on stuff. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at.
All right. Well, thank you. We're
Yep.
going to end it right there.
Yeah.
Thank you for following along with us. We always appreciate.
We do appreciate it very much.
Thank you, and we will see you when we get back from Canada, and we'll be back on Olivia.
Oh, Canada.
Yes.